Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And on today's Going In Raw News Brief, could NBC Universal buy WWE? What movie role does Darby Allin want? We're going to preview tonight's Impact Wrestling. But first, has ESPN banned WWE? Larson, what's in the news?
So, of course, the big news yesterday was WWE licensing the rights to their WWE Network content to NBC Universal's Peacock app here in the States. So now we got some fallout from that deal. On a recent episode of Wrestling Observer Live, Dave Meltzer is suggesting that ESPN may have banned WWE from their channels after that deal was struck. This is what he had to say, quote, "This is conjecture. I believe the ESPN were part of the talks. I believe that 3 weeks ago they were told they weren't going to get it. That's my conjecture. What I do know is that ESPN has pretty much shut down any WWE right now. No more WWE content on ESPN." On the following episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, he specified that this wasn't an overall wrestling ban on ESPN, just WWE saying, quote, "It's got nothing to do with wrestling. They didn't ban wrestling. It was just WWE. I don't know if they'll do anything with them being AEW, but I was told the ban was WWE." So for a while, in the build to WrestleMania last year, ESPN showed several classic WrestleManias in the build up to it. Of course, WWE talent have been guests on ESPN, been in their commercials. Becky Lynch was in a series of Sports Center commercials. Going back to the Attitude Era, Stone Cold was in some commercials for Sports Center. This has been kind of a long-standing thing where, you know, a WWE superstar reaches a certain point of popularity, you can expect them in a Sports Center commercial, at least for the time being. If Meltzer is correct here, that seems to be coming to an end. How long that lasts, who knows? But seems, according to Meltzer, that seems to be the case.
Yeah, they've always had a friendly relationship, WWE and ESPN. So yeah, we'll see how long this lasts. It's kind of interesting that, I mean, I wonder, you know, when you read something like this, it sounds like, oh, somebody's so upset. I mean, it seems like a decently reasonable business move. You know, the big deal is WWE.
When you got these various competing streaming enterprises, you got ESPN Plus, which of course is part of Disney. Disney Plus has their own thing. ESPN Plus has their own streaming thing. Now Peacock has their own thing. Everybody's jockeying for position in the streaming landscape to get those dollars out of the pockets of people who might want to watch your programming. So
them subs.
Exactly. So if you're, you know, if ESPN was negotiating with WWE to get the network content on ESPN Plus, for example, didn't happen, went to a competing service. It was sort of like when Jericho signed with AEW. Yeah, it kind of seemed petty. They took him out of the intro, the now for intro of the show, considering how long he had been with WWE, like 20 years, basically.
Yeah.
How much he meant to the history of that company. Same time, though, he went to the competition. Guess it makes sense why they wouldn't want to promote someone who's one of the top stars of your top competition.
Yeah, why use that slot of, you know, a fraction of a second in a very distorted opening package on a guy who's not with your company anymore when you can put in Cesaro or whoever they replaced him with.
It was Cesaro, I believe, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that makes all the sense in the world, you know, and people say, oh, they're so petty for doing that. Well, they're not. They're just, you know, it's a business, man. They're trying to make some money. They're trying to make $1 a set. They just made $1 billion yesterday off this deal, man. So
that's a good segue. So let's dive into this, because this is, again, more so conjecture on Dave's part, but it's worthy of discussion, I think. So
this is one of the first things that came to my mind when this deal happened. Yeah.
It was discussed also at Wrestling Observer Live and Wrestling Observer Radio, talking about the WWE Peacock deal. Meltzer speculating about whether NBC Universal might make a play to bring SmackDown back to their family of channels, whether it be USA Network, whatever. And then at that point, whether it'd make more sense financially for NBC Universal to just outright purchase WWE. You know, you assume the terms of deals, if they continue as they are, about $250 million per year to broadcast Raw, SmackDown, and to retain the network content. You're talking about $750 million a year. And Meltzer said if the price tag is $6 billion for WWE, NBC could potentially make that money back in about, I think he said 8 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So at that point, he made the point that it would make sense for NBC Universal just to buy WWE, assuming, that's the massive assumption there is that Vince would be willing to sell.
Yeah. So currently the market cap on the WWE is around $4 billion. So that's like, how much basically the company's worth. But then, of course, you look at, okay, well, this is a company that you can build on, you can grow on, and that's where you get the extra couple $1 billion. I remember when, what was it? The Clippers sold for like, what, $2 billion to Ballmer. And that like blew all the other, is it the Clippers around, I think the Warriors around the same time were sold. And then, of course, the Kings were sold. I'm talking about NBA teams here. And, they're just blowing prices out of the water. Content is, like you mentioned earlier, content is at a premium these days. And a company like WWE, which has been around for such a long time, they basically are the standard for pro wrestling. It would not shock me. It would not shock me at all if that company got bought sooner than later. It honestly wouldn't, especially at this point when, Vince has built this thing. He's, I have no idea. I mean, he doesn't seem like he wants to retire. But it might be the smart business move for them to sell this thing at, $6 billion or whatever and make a ton of money for their empire. And I don't know what they'd do with it at that point.
If they could manage to sell the company and retain control,
which is less likely these days. I mean,
yeah.
But you never know.
And by that I mean control like the day-to-day operations, because I think one thing, especially if Vince is still active and around working in WWE, he's so synonymous with WWE. Yes, those of us who really pay attention to the product know that while his name carries a lot of weight in the industry, based on, especially if Raw last night is any indication, him being around and actively involved and creative is not always a good thing.
The only, maybe you can think of a different one, but obviously there is Lucas selling Star Wars to Disney, and that was with the caveat that, hey, you're gone, dude. And there was you have to say there was a recognition there when, that the creative on those movies was underwhelming. It wasn't like he was some sort of, genius coming up with all this stuff. It's like those movies made money despite his, sort of, those prequels are not good movies. I'm sorry.
They're not good. They're not.
And so with him out of the way, they were able to pull. Now, I don't know if, like you said, back in, Lucas was synonymous with Star Wars, but there was a recognition there. Would it be the same thing where, Vince is synonymous with wrestling, with WWE, but would there be a recognition that things aren't as good as they should be? And it might be because of him. I don't know if that recognition.
I don't know. And I don't know if Vince would be willing to part with this thing he created in the same way Lucas was.
Well, that'd be the big question, yeah.
If Lucas was as invested in continuing the Star Wars properties as much as Vince is seemingly invested in continuing his creative involvement in WWE.
Star Wars was not Lucas's only passion. He wanted to build obviously Lucasfilm had a lot more things going on than just Star Wars. Yeah. But he had a lot of other things that he seemed to be really, really interested in besides Star Wars. Vince McMahon, besides his dalliance with the XFL, which is done now.
Well, his involvement's done now. Rock owns it.
That's what I mean. Yeah, his involvement with it is done. Besides that, even that was like, I don't know. I don't really know how much he really cared about it. Wrestling is his thing. That's like his thing. So I don't know. I don't know if he'd ever be, maybe if he passed away, maybe at that point they'd say, okay, well, let's see how much we can cash out for. I don't know. I don't know what's on their minds, man.
I don't know either. I have no idea.
But these days, it's like everybody. These days, it just seems like everybody's just sort of selling while the prices are good.
It's good. I know.
They might think that, hey, we're not going to get a better price than this. Like extending out any further might do a detriment to the company. I don't know.
When they still got 4 more years roughly on the Fox deal for SmackDown. So unless there's something that can be done where how that's possible, NBC can buy out that SmackDown deal. Again, I don't know if that's possible. This is still a few years out from being anywhere close to reality.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
nothing immediate.
Nope. And then watch tomorrow, news brief. Universal buys WWE outright. All right, so let's talk about this. This is kind of fun. Going to talk about Darby Allin wanting to go Hollywood, kind of. During an appearance on Endless Hustle, AEW's TNT champion Darby Allin let it be known that he wants in on Jackass 4 whenever that happens.
Yeah, these transcripts are from Fightful.
And he said this, the one event would be Jackass 4. I think he's talking about an event that he'd need time off from AEW. He says, I've talked to people and I'm like, if this happens, I'm going to have to have time off. Not only is this thing going to help spread the brand of AEW in pop culture, it's going to help my mind. It's a bucket list thing for sure. I've talked to Steve-O about it. Everything is so crazy with COVID that they can't even start filming. They were a week or two into filming when it got shut down, and now they've been holding it off. There was a report about some injury that happened on Jackass 4 when they just within the first
2 days, wasn't it?
Yeah. Let's see here. I can't. Oh, here we go.
Did Knoxville go to the hospital or something like that?
A month ago, Jackass 4 hospitalized 2 stars on the second day of filming. Let's see. Who was this? Come on now.
That was Knoxville and...
Yeah, okay, yeah. It was Steve-O in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And there was a video update from Bam Margera on the Bam Margera HQ website. The two were jumping on a full-speed treadmill while wearing band equipment like tubas. These fools. They're like pushing 50.
I know.
What the hell? That's going to be great, though, man. Those Jackass movies are hilarious. That was the shit back in the day. The Jackass show was the shit, man.
Heck yeah, man.
Everybody was in on that.
That was appointment television for us.
It was, man. Absolutely.
We made sure we were there sitting in front of our TVs on MTV when new episodes drop. Speaking of new episodes, we got a new episode of Impact tonight. We'll be co-streaming that.
Yeah, man.
At our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Steven Larson, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We got a preview for the show.
Mm-hmm.
It looks pretty solid. First match here listed, Ace Austin, Madman Fulton versus Matt Cardona and Josh Alexander.
Is it going to be weird if they don't even acknowledge Matt Cardona and Brian Myers being on the same brand?
The most professional wrestler.
Right. Given they have a podcast together. They were a tag team at one point. Come on.
They're tag champions.
They're tag champions at one point. You got to get them together. Also, Matt Hardy and Private Party return to Impact. The bigger question is, of course, will Tony Khan and his Captain's Log notebook be there as well?
Yeah. We're going to have the Fire and Flava Fest.
Oh, that's fun.
Kiera Hogan, Tasha Steele celebrating winning the Knockouts tag titles.
That's going to be a good one. Also, Eddie Edwards versus the most professional wrestler, Brian Myers. This is going to be good, Larson. Confused Cowboy versus Cousin Jake. The feud escalates.
It does. And then finally, Tenille Dashwood versus Rosemary.
Oh, that should be a good match. So join us there at twitch.tv/Steven Larson. Me, Larson, and the Enforcer are going to be just hanging out. I washed my Impact shirt, man. I'm going to wear my Impact shirt.
Yeah, I got mine over here somewhere.
For the Impact stream. I'm still waiting for my Hard to Kill shirt to arrive so I can.
Did you actually order that?
No, I didn't. No.
Well, it's never going to arrive. I'm afraid to tell you then.
You know, maybe I'll order one. Maybe if it's on clearance in like a month, then I'll have it ready for next month or for next year's Hard to Kill.
All right.
Yeah. So I'll be prepared for that.
I guess.
Anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. What, you don't think they're going to be around next year?
Yeah, but they might have a brand new logo or something. Some new art for it.
Man,
you're gonna be behind the times, man.
Oh, that's okay. I'll be retro. I'll be vintage. That's the cool thing, dude.
Look at this
Ghost Rider shirt. I'm going retro.
Going retro.
Anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Help support Going In Raw today by becoming a Friendo Club TV member. You'll get access to new bonus episodes every week, including Friendo Club Arcade, Live Power Rank, Vintage 10 for the Wins, and Ask Steven Larson. Get access to Friendo Club TV today by becoming a $5 and up patron at patreon.com/Steven Larson, by throwing us a sub at twitch.tv/Steven Larson, or by clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson.